Hi my dear students, welcome back to my channel. So this video we are starting a new chapter 4, which is quadratic equations. As per the new syllabus for the year 23-24, we are covering the standard form of a quadratic equations, how to frame quadratic equations from a given question, and also how to solve the quadratic equations using different methods, which is factorization method and quadratic formula method, and also we are learning what are the nature of roots. If you are new to the channel, please don't forget to subscribe. So let's start. So students, we know what are quadratic polynomials. We have learned what are polynomials, what are different types of polynomials according to their degrees. So here we know what is a linear polynomial. So that is linear polynomial is x plus 4. X plus 4. This is a linear polynomial. Why? Because the highest degree of the variable is 1. So this is a linear polynomial. Linear polynomial. So similarly, what is a quadratic polynomial? We have x squared plus 3x plus 2. This is a quadratic polynomial. Why? Because the highest degree of the variable is 2. The highest degree is 2 here. So that is a quadratic polynomial. And we also know what is a cubic polynomial, which is cubic polynomial will be 2x cubed plus x squared minus 2x plus 5. So this is a cubic polynomial. Correct? Now let's see how we can make that to an equation. So for a polynomial can be made as an equation by equating that to 0. So let's see, for a linear polynomial that can be an equation when we equate that to 0. X plus 4 equals to 0. So that is a linear equation. So that becomes a linear equation. When we equate a polynomial to 0, then that is an equation. So that is, secondly we have quadratic polynomial, so that we can make as a quadratic equation by x squared plus 3x plus 2 equals to 0. So that now is a quadratic equation. Is a quadratic equation. Correct? Similarly, for a cubic polynomial we can write as 2x cubed plus x squared minus 2x plus 5 equals to 0. So that's a cubic equation. Correct? So that's how a polynomial we can change that to an equation. So just we need to equate that to 0. Now let's see what is the standard form of a quadratic equation. So a quadratic equation in the variable x. So the variable x is an equation in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. So the standard form of a quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0, where a, b, c are real numbers. Real numbers in the means it can be any fraction, it can be an integer, any rational number, irrational number. Only one restriction is a cannot be equal to 0. A not equal to 0. So that is the only restriction in a quadratic equation. So that we can say the standard form of a quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0, where a, b, c are the coefficient of the variable. Coefficient of the variables, and it can be any real numbers. It can be fraction, it can be integers, it can be rational numbers, irrational numbers. Only one restriction, which is a cannot be equal to 0. A cannot be equal to 0. So let's see, if we, in an equation, so if it's ax squared, if a is equal to 0, the value of the first term will be 0 multiplied by x squared. So that is 0. So then if this will become as 0 plus bx plus c. So that is 0. If a is equal to 0, then there is no second degree. The highest degree of this equation is now 1. So that will be a linear equation. So now that's the reason why we have that restriction where a cannot be 0. If a is equal to 0, that is a is the coefficient of the highest, the second degree variable, which is x squared. So if a is equal to 0, then the second degree, where the value for the second degree term will be also equal to 0. So then it will become, automatically it will become a linear equation. So that is the reason why we need to see whether a is not equal to 0. Now let's see the standard form of a quadratic equation, we said, which is ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So a is the coefficient of x squared, b is the coefficient of x, and c is the constant term. Now let's see in a quadratic, 3x squared minus 4 equals to 0. So what is the standard form of this quadratic equation? So we can write as 3x squared. Even if the the second term is missing there, we can consider that as 3x squared plus 0x, which is the value is 0 minus 4 equals to 0. Correct? So this is the standard form of a quadratic equation. So secondly, let's look, minus 4x plus 6 plus 2x squared equals to 0. How can we write this in a standard form? So that will be, first will be highest degree, which is x squared, then that will be 2x squared minus 4x plus 6 equals to 0. So this is the standard form of a quadratic equation. Now let's see how to frame quadratic equations from a given question. So to frame a quadratic equation, we need to see there are 3 steps. The first step is what we have to find in the question. Secondly, put variables, replace variables for what we are going to find, and then make a mathematical equation with the given situations. We will be given a situation, so then make a mathematical equation from the given situation. So let's see one question. So John and Jaya together have 45 marbles. Both of them lost 5 marbles each, and the product of the number of marbles they now have is 124. We would like to find out how many marbles they had to start with. Now let's frame a quadratic equations to from the given situation. So that's firstly we have given, let the marbles with John is x. So now we are first, as per the steps for to frame a quadratic equations, firstly we need to see what we have to find. We have to find how many marbles they had. So firstly we are, and then replacing variables to what we are going to find. So let the marbles with John is x and the marbles with Jaya is y. Correct? So both of them together have how many marbles? They have x plus y equals to 45. Correct? X plus y is equal to 45, and both the y can be equals to 45 minus x. So which is the marbles with John is x and marbles with Jaya is y, which is 45 minus x. Secondly, they have given both of them lost 5 marbles each. So that is John's marbles, now he have only x minus 5, and Jaya will be having 45 minus x minus 5. Correct? So which is minus x plus 40. Then they have given the product of the number of the marbles they now have is 124. So that is the product of x minus 5. X minus 5 multiplied by minus x plus 40 is equal to 124. Correct? So that we can simplify this, x minus 5 multiplied by minus x plus 40, that is minus x squared plus 40x plus 40x plus 5x minus 200 equals to 124. So that will be minus x squared plus 45x, we can multiply this together. So that will be, that is minus x squared, we can minus x plus 40x plus 5x will be plus 45x minus 200 minus 124 equals to 0. So that is x squared minus x squared plus 45x minus 200 minus 124, that is minus 324 equals to 0, which can be written as x squared plus 45x plus, no sorry, minus 45x. We are making the changing the sign, so that is, again we can write it as x squared minus 45x plus 324 equals to 0. So that is the standard form of quadratic equation, and this equation will help you to find how many marbles John and Jaya had. So now let's see what are roots, zeros and solutions. So we know in a polynomial, zeros of a polynomial is the value of x, is the value of the variable which makes the equation polynomial equal to 0, which makes the polynomial equals to 0. The polynomial of x will make equals to 0. So that are called the zeros of a polynomial. So similarly, for in quadratic equations, we will say it roots of a quadratic equation, that is solutions. We can call it as also solutions. So that is, in a quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. The value of x which makes the equation equal to 0. The value of x which makes the equation equal to 0 are called roots or solutions. Roots or solutions. So in polynomial we will call it as zeros, but in quadratic equation we call it as roots or solutions. One more thing, the zeros of a quadratic polynomial and the roots of a quadratic equations are always same. And it will have similarly a quadratic polynomial can have at most two zeros. Similarly, in a quadratic equation it can have at most two solutions or two roots. So the roots of a quadratic equation are the value of the variable which makes that equation equal to 0. So any value, if we replace the value of x to any of the real numbers, then if that quadratic equation is equal to 0, that value of x is called the roots of the quadratic equation. So let's see a simple quadratic equation which is 2x squared minus 3x plus 1 equals to 0. Now let's replace the value of x. Consider x equals to 1. So that is 2 multiplied by 1 squared minus 3 multiplied by 1 plus 1 equals to 0. So that will be 2 minus 3 plus 1 equals to 0, which is 0 equals to 0. So that is left hand side is equal to right hand side. So in this case we can say value of x is equal to 1. So 1 is the root of this quadratic equation. So 1 is the solution or root of this quadratic equation. So when we replace the value of x to 1, we got the equation equal to 0. So then we can say 1 is the root, or so root of this equation is 1. It can also be called a solution of the equations. So there are different methods to find the solutions of a quadratic equations. As per the new syllabus, that's only one is factorization method and by using quadratic formula method. So this we will see in the next video. If you are new to the channel, please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching.